Loki Season 2, Episode 3, titled 1893, gave us so many reasons as MCU fans to trust that there is a very bright future ahead. There was so much packed into this episode, and for me, it was nice to see all of these pieces starting to come together. Kang is back. Miss Minutes is back. And we need to talk about it. So what's up, everyone, and welcome back to Jones Vibes. Hit the like button so you don't get pruned, and let's dive in. So honestly, I just want to get this out of the way. This was my favorite episode of the season so far. And that's saying a lot, because the first two were awesome, but yeah, I don't know. Episode 3 gets an MC woo from me. I'm sorry about that. But just specifically diving into the story of He Who Remains again, and bringing in Victor Timely just elevated things to a different level. The performance was amazing, and the writing was on point. I also really like how each episode individually has felt very unique, but at the same time, each of them has moved the story forward. We start this episode in Chicago on the sacred timeline, and we're immediately thrown into the story of Ravonna Renslayer and Ms. Minutes giving the TVA handbook to a young Victor Timely, who seemingly then takes that information from the handbook and grows up to become He Who Remains. But I think the biggest question is this really He Who Remains, or is this just another variant? I think that there's a lot of trickery going on here. I think the intention is to lead us to think that he's going to be He Who Remains, and he might end up being that, but also his path could end up going in a completely different direction. Maybe he becomes somebody else, or maybe he becomes somebody else on the journey of becoming He Who Remains. In the comics, Victor Timely is Kang the Conqueror. I think I'm remembering that right. And so the roads could be leading towards Kang the Conqueror or He Who Remains. I don't know, but it's just so much fun to speculate. But then something to notice, Loki and Mobius show up in 1893, but this time it says branched timeline. And this is also where Ravonna and Ms. Minutes are. And so what does that mean? When they gave the handbook to young Victor Timely, did it like branch the timeline out? Or are they on a completely separate timeline here? I don't know. It's interesting. But they show up to 1893's Chicago Fair. It's like the world's Columbian Exposition. And to me, at least, this was very, very cool. The set design alone throughout this episode was freaking incredible. I think I've mentioned this in the past, but season 1 kind of just felt overblown with CGI. There were a lot of reasons for that, and I still enjoyed it, but the use of practical sets in this season has just really done a lot for me, and it's really set the tone. Just them walking around with all these people in these amazing, intricate costumes, like, it was so much fun. But the episode itself had a lot going on. There were a lot of fun Easter eggs and humor, you know, Loki seeing Odin, Thor, and Balder. I thought the Balder thing was funny. Balder being a huge part of the Thor stories in the comics, but never really making his way into the MCU, but maybe he will now? But all this leads to the sequence and introduction of the now older Victor Timely and his temporal loom. And this was so dope, like explaining how he could weave together timelines. And then there's this chase scene afterwards, and then Sylvie shows up, and honestly, just all of the dialogue, I do want to say this, all the dialogue so far this season between Loki and Sylvie has been super tense. They're having this conversation with Victor Timely kind of in the middle, so he's trying to process what the hell's going on, and they're just kind of firing back and forth with each other. The great battle between action and reaction. There's such a push and pull to these characters right now, and even though they're working against each other, it almost feels like they keep pushing each other forward, almost as if it's predetermined. Dang it. But the really good stuff starts after that whole chase scene. They get on the boat, and then they get to Victor Timely's workshop or his lab. Miss Minutes has already kind of convinced him to betray Ravonna, sending her into the water, even though there's clearly some feelings there, but here we learn a lot about the past, or the future, but the creation of Miss Minutes and the TVA. There's a lot of really heavy information kind of being thrown at us, specifically regarding Miss Minutes, and then she just gets really weird and really creepy, asking him why she was never given a real body. It was crazy. And this is my concern with ChatGPT, man. But something that blew my mind in this whole sequence, and the amazing Ryan Airy from Screen Crush actually pointed this out, was that Victor Timely's most important invention highly resembled Kang's probability drive from Quantumania. His time and space and multiversal transport, and yeah, this is Kang the Conqueror. And this man will eventually be taken down by ants. But he'll be back, bet. But then we have this incredible scene with Sylvie fighting the urge to kill this variant, this Kang, and she lets him go, but not before kicking Ravonna and Miss Minutes back to the place at the end of time with a withering "he who remains still sat in his chair." Like, it was really scary, really eerie. It kind of reminded me of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, just that creepy feeling. And Miss Minutes says right before the episode finishes that this was a bad idea because she knows all the secrets, and there's one specifically that's apparently really bad. So what's gonna happen now? Where is this all heading? Victor Timely is now with Loki and with Mobius, and so I'm sure that storyline's gonna get crazy, but what are Ravonna and Miss Minutes gonna get up to? Where is Sylvie going, and how does this all connect to the future that Loki saw in episode 1? Please let me know all your thoughts down in the comments, because I'd love to hear your speculation and all of your theories. Also, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. The support means more than you guys know. You can follow me on X at JonesVibesOnly, and don't forget to keep up the good vibes, guys. But episode 3 was worth the wait, and this just keeps getting better. But what comes next?